Oh.
This may be a very simple point, but it does seem striking that when you talk about the multiplicity P as something that can exist in a weaker or stronger sense, so you say in shadow and light, or to put aside the event for a moment and say that the multiplicity P might, for example, be like the abstract painting. That can also be abstract painting that would be, at the inception of Malevich's career, or at the point of Malevich's career when he comes into figuration. Or if there's the event, then the multiplicity P exists in one sense, and then later exists in another sense where it is almost fundamentally different. That would actually precede negation and problematize the identity principle, so that P is not equal to P. And I wonder if that's the case or not, or how you would answer that.
So could you repeat that?
I understand a large part, but not exactly the question, the final question.
The final question is, how does that, whether that is not, that P not being equal to P, being, P in two different senses, P before the event, P after the event, or just P in strength and P in weakness, does not problematize Aristotle's first principle, the identity principle of P being equal to P. So P is not, in fact, equal to P.
In other words, do your multiplicity of negations and so on, do they not at some level invalidate Aristotle's starting point, the principle of identity? What happens in all your negations,
yes,
the principle of identity? To put it in, I simplify it a little bit.
Yes. It's a question of level. At the level of discourse, we maintain that the truth value of a proposition is the same as the true value of the same proposition. So, at the level of the discourse, it's impossible to negate the principle of identity, because it's in fact the principle of identity of the symbols. B, if it is B along the discourse must be always B. And if it is the same B, it has the same value, because the value is not something else than the value of the thing, of the symbol itself. If, naturally, the question of identity is taken outside the question of symbolization, it's become much more complex, because we can, it's the Hegelian vision of the contradictory inside the same thing. But we have, in that sort of context, always the unity of the contradiction itself. So there is always a moment where we must recognize something like a principle of identity, even if the identity is the identity of a contradiction. But there is always a level of thought where the identity principle is true. In the context of Aristotle, it's much more simple, because it's finally, from the logical point of view, is a question of the identity in the symbolic order. But maybe the identity in the symbolic order is the only form of strict identity. It's possible.
Okay. Yes, Madam also. Oliver, right.
First, unlike Slavoj Žižek, I wish to speak neither as male nor female, but let's say a gummy. Hannah Arendt was also concerned with how new things enter the world. And in The Origins of Totalitarianism, she talked about birth of a child as a kind of literal natality, by which something literally new enters the world. Perhaps it's through temptation precisely that events appear in the world that are neither B nor non-B. And at every level, I think we can say this, a literal natality. There is a fusion, and there is negativity, and something new enters the world, from complete inexistence to maximal intensity. And second, the effect, we can say, is far greater than the cause.
So every child is an event. In the classical sense, is that what you...
Well, I mean, I'm joking, but I'm also being very serious as to what do I mean to take natality quite seriously as extendable to other realms, including the political.
I mean, we are all proof, no? We have been children.
We are all proof that the effect is indeed greater than the cause.
But what is the question? Why do you attack him? You try to...
I'm simply talking about another model of how something new in the world.
How?
Something new is coming into the world with every child. So that is a true event.
The birth of a child.
From inexistence to existence, so to speak. Full existence.
The child as a
Yes, we can always say that a birth is an event, naturally, because it's really the apparition of a new possibility. The apparition of a new possibility. And formally, the birth of a child can be sized as an event. But the question is the nature of that sort of event. And the nature of an event, finally, is the question of the consequences of the event. If the consequences are in the field of truth, of creative novelty, and so on, or if the consequences of the event are in the field of continuation, repetition, and so on. Or finally, we can decide something like that, not when we have the birth of the child, but when we have the death of the man or the woman.
When Marx was born, that was an event. We don't know yet.
Because after all, the birth of a child can be only the continuation of the humankind.